This is Fam Electric Ghost. You're here listening to Two Stones from Home. We're going to be talking about that in another track. So let's get into it. So we've gone back and forth between our normal hardware workflow, which uses modular, analog, and digital synths, recorded in real time with digital recorders like the Zoom R16 or R24. Talking about instruments like the Moog DFAM, Drummer from Another Mother, Arturia Mini Brute 2S, Moog Mother 32, Juno, GI, System 1M, these type of synths, these hardware synths. And lately, in the last month and a half, we've been using the Teenage Engineering OPZ. Now, some songs we've actually merged both the OPZ recording techniques with our hardware synthesizer techniques. But here we have, again, an example of two different songs. One that is a hardware analog synth Eurorack constructed song, and then another one that's a Teenage Engineering song. And so the first song, Two Stones from Home, comes to this kind of sci-fi idea where the stones kind of represent planets, and this is like an intergalactic universal cosmic jam, where basically, Josephine's talking about this cosmic collision that she's always referring to everything in a sexual overtone. So the cosmic collision kind of refers to having sex or intercourse, but on this cosmic level where there's like neutron stars exploding, and that kind of represents orgasms. And Josephine gets really heavy into this idea that, there's a space traveler and they're two planets away from their home. So two stones from home. And they're out there in this world where, stars are exploding, which represents like the sex between the gods and the universe. And it's this weird, very kind of high-minded sci-fi idea. And we're using, we went and took our Moog Mother 32 and we routed it into a Arturia Mini Brute 2S and used the sequencer on a 2S to create a repetitive drum beat. And then on top of that, we took the DFAM and had it run in a sequence. And we have a Mother 32 run through a Make Noise Maths module. So there's a lot of analog modular goodness happening in that song to create the structure. And it's just a matter of playing the Moog filters and sweeping the filters and sweeping the pulse modulation. Excuse me. And that's this whole structure of Two Stones from the Home is the idea of this some kind of universal sexual space romp. And then we get into the other song on here, which is called Burning Bridges. And Burning Bridges, or Burnt Bridges, we call it, I've changed the title a couple of times. It's probably going to end up being Burnt Bridges. And this song is very different, but somewhat familiar. And the Teenage Engineering has this kind of 8-bit, kind of new age synth wave kind of sound. And the best way to describe it if you actually hear it.
I don't think you want to remember. Don't think you want to remember.
So a lot of the sonic goodness that you hear in this song is the Teenage Engineering has the ability in its sequencer to do what are called step components. And step components are the ability to throw rules like sonic, synthesis rules on top of each step. And potentially you could do 6 different rules on every step. And some of these rules can actually change the timing of a particular concept. They can go through and change how the filter works, how the modulation works, and the way the sound processes, like filter sweeps, all kinds of sonic goodness. And when you use these step components in a very kind of free-flowing way, you can get unexpected results. This is one of the things I like about hardware. In the same way that when you approach a Moog and you turn it on, if you don't let it warm up, it will sound different. If you let it warm up, it will sound different. If you wire the CV different, it will act different. If you play the filters because they're so sensitive, each setting and each CV configuration can be very significant, and it can act different every time you approach it. You can find new ways to use it. The Teenage Engineering OPZ has this kind of variability when you bring in the step components. When you bring in the step components into the structure of a song, you can get a lot of variability that is as significant as what you get on an analog synth. So the idea of burning bridges is this whole thing. I had a bad collaboration breakup back in 2017. It's kind of famous. Everybody probably realizes it. And it's, I have Josephine just kind of ranting about it. And it's, it's just kind of a dark kind of, somebody who is having, I guess, you have your resentments, and there's a big resentment in this big project that we put a lot of effort into. We're just kind of thrown away by a certain individual. They just like dropped it, and they could say I dropped it, but I felt they dropped it before I did. And this is something I've been talking about in my Dark Ghost albums for a while, and it has these like the line that says "like birds of a feather like flock together," and it's kind of it's a very harsh kind of jolted relationship perspective, but it's got this kind of new wave, pretty lively beat that's not dark. And in this way, it's kind of like the Churches. One thing I like about the way Churches does their songs, they have this synth pop sound that is pretty like upbeat, but when you listen to the vocals, they're kind of dark. And this has got that kind of structure. It's very dark, but it's got a kind of a more of a bubbly, it's up tempo, more up tempo than Two Stones from Home, which is kind of a progressive, industrial attack, where this is more accessible to some people today, and because it's got that kind of video game sound too, it sounds a little more like familiar to gamers. I think I've gotten some particularly some better reception to Burning Bridges or Burnt Bridges than I did to Two Stones from Home. Now, being a progressive synth player and being heavy into that type of sound, I kind of prefer Two Stones from Home, but I can understand why my fans seem to like Burning Bridges or Burnt Bridges. So you never know what the fans are going to like. So you try different things all the time. And this kind of gets into, Teenage Engineering is really making very significant capabilities. And I think I was watching yesterday on YouTube that, it's because they are not the traditional synth designers. They approach things in a different way. They don't build their synths with like ladder filters and, variable state filters that are obvious. They make synths that are very interesting. And even their new traditional modular system has got a couple of different ideas, like the work stack. You're building it like a kit, like the Moog work stack, and then it's got just the kind of quirkiness of their structure. It looks like it's got Lego like control surfaces, which then you could use a Mindstorm to control that. So there's a lot of cool things you could do. So it's taking an idea of somebody who's a hobbyist, maybe in modular synth, and they like the design. I think Teenage Engineering is kind of like all about design. It's like you look at a company like Audi, very design oriented, or a company like Apple, very design specific. And Teenage Engineering's got that feel. So they've got people who probably have never been into synthesis getting into their gear, which is good because it's good to bring people from outside the music industry into the art craft, because then we can get different perspectives. And, I think getting different perspectives is key to what you do. I think one of the big problems in the music industry right now is I've got over 8,600 fans on Anchor, but on Reverb Nation, I can't get a gig because my sound is so different than everybody else's sound that it seems to be a detriment to me getting gigs there, where, I can get a lot of fans to listen to what I'm doing here. I get actually more people listening sometimes to my broadcast about my own music than some of my interviews. And so there is an audience for my music, and I'm surprised that Reverb Nation, and I've gone on this again, is I'm spending the money to be on their platform, and I can't get any of the contest. So it's making me feel like eventually I'm going to dump them and go back to Sonic Bids or some other structure because it seems like it's a waste of money. And that's a complaint directly to them. So sorry about that. But I think they need to be more open, and the bookers need to be more open about what is possible out there and what people can do. And don't just keep on running the same sounds all the time. Then we're getting into, it's NAMM season. There's a lot of cool devices coming out. We don't know what Moog's going to do besides they did it a lot last year with the grandmother, and they did, the subharmonicon, and then they did the Moog 1. So with 2019, are they just going to be kind of resting on what they built, or are they going to show up with another, series in the Mother series? I would love to see the subharmonicon get put in production. I'm kind of holding my money because I if the subharmonicon was out and the teenage engineering stuff is there, I have a hard time figuring out which one I would go. I'm a big fan of the Mother series. I've been waiting to get a grandmother. The subharmonicon is something I really want. Not sure, and we've seen this with Moog before because they actually came out with the brother from another mother that never got built. And we're hoping the subharmonicon is not something that doesn't get built like the way that one. But we saw, the actual DFAM was, on the shelf for a little while. We didn't know if that was going to come, and it did. But it was so significant that they really had to build it. The question with the subharmonicon, do they think there's enough of a fan base for that? I think it's an amazing machine. If you look at the Lollipop video on it, it's nothing else like it. Maybe make noise, make some modules that could do what it does, but I believe, as a singular machine, it's incredible. It would be really cool if they built it. So Moog, if you're listening, we'd love to go to Moog Fest and interview folks with this podcast. And we interview indie artists? And also for NAMM, if everybody's listening from NAMM, we are very interested in going to NAMM 2020 and being able to interview bands and people, manufacturers, and put it on our podcast. So we would be very interested and hope there's a way to do that. We're going to see if Anchor could help us get us there. We're going to talk about that. Once we hit like 10,000 fans, we're hoping that we can leverage that and see if we can actually go to Moog Fest or go to NAMM 2020 or any other musical convention and be invited like the way Sonic Bids and Lollipop and Andertons and all these other folks that go to these conventions. We would love to do that. When we were working with All Control K, we were going to try to do that. We never got to do that. So it's an idea that we still have, and we're a big technology fanatic when it comes to electronic music, recording, synthesis, everything. From recording gear to synths to modular synths to effects, anything in between. We're heavily interested, and we're very involved, and we do purchase our own gear. We're looking for some sponsorship from some of the folks out there. So any of the companies that are looking to push their brand, since we have a fan base of over 8,600 folks, we're hoping that we can leverage that. This month alone, we got 3,000 listens, over 3,300, which is double our normal listenership. So we're on schedule to actually hit over 10K soon. So we're hoping that folks see that. And in addition, we have records of our own. The Fam Electric Ghost is on all the streaming services. We've got multiple albums. Our current record out there for everybody to download is Wretched Symphony number 8. So check that out on all the streaming services, Fam Electric Ghost. And also we've got on Digger's Factory Vinyl, 200 issued vinyl, double vinyl album. There's only 196 copies left. Go out to Digger's Factory Records and check out Dark Ghost. There's a promo on here you can look at on our main page. We appreciate it if all of our fans, if you can find it in your heart to support us. Please check out Dark Ghost Volume 1 if you want a limited edition vinyl copies, only 196 left. And if you just have a streaming service. Listen to us on Apple or Spotify or Tidal, whatever service you have. Listen to Phantom Electric Ghost. We have multiple records and collaborations you want to check out. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later.
A cosmic collision, so much division. A neutron star, and I'm burned out. Well, fog, a cosmic collision. It's my new religion. I saw from far, radioactive, the third bar. It's 2 stones, I'm being light years from home. It's 2 stones, it shake you right to your bones. A cosmic collision, universal division. Neutron star, we're blowing up so far. That's the third rail, and you're gonna fail. The fish gonna grow for everything that you know. Like we're not alone. I'm sure it's automatic one to go. Oh, well, you know you're not alone. They got a signal from the world. That shit's a radioactive girl. They give her to the know. A cosmic collision. There's your new legend. The solar friction. It's the universal ambition. A cosmic collision. The universal division. She's my new religion. Radioactive to the core. Oh, you know she's not the world's own. A cosmic collision. The neutrons start blowing up from far. When I reach the third bar, we're much too far. Communication, binary signals, more than any religion ever replaced this fiction. When you got a conviction, and you want to feel the friction, universal collision. Every girl is my new religion. Touch from far. No, she come from a third star, from another sun. A million light years from this one. Kill Earth, not yet burned. My desires uninterrupted, and things unlearned. Oh no, the solar collision. Neutron star erupting is my vision. With it, she's my new religion. A miracle girl from another earth. Not yet burned. Oh, she's my new religion. An interactive girl from a world not yet burned. Whoa. I guess you never learn. And desires always burn. Whether you're based on carbon or silicon or sex or whatever. Whoa. The universal religion. A neutron star in infinite vision. Erupted in our vision. Radioactive girl. The shit is much more than a world.
This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we have our brand new record, Dark Ghost Volume 1, available on Digger's Factory Records, go to https www.diggersfactory.com/vinyl/226598. And that's www.diggersfactory.com/vinyl/226598. This is an electronica experimental progressive trance album. Pre-order is $24 plus shipping and handling. There are only 200 copies produced. It's a double vinyl record and it will be coming out in April. Again, this is Phantom Electric Ghost. Appreciate it if you check out www.diggersfactory.com/vinyl/226598. Thank you.
I don't think you wanna remember the last December. Don't think you wanna remember the last December. I burned bridges, shattered embers. I burned bridges, don't remember. And nothing is forever. It never stayed together. I don't think you remember the last December. I burned bridges, shattered embers. I burned bridges, can't remember. Nothing is forever. Yeah, fuck forever. Yeah, fuck together. Never gonna taste that heaven. Stick it to that dude. All your crew. It's true. Birds of a feather, I'll fuck together. Birds of a feather, I'll fuck together. Nothing's forever. And we never stay together. Fuck forever. I don't think you wanna remember the last December. I don't think you wanna remember the last December. I burned bridges, scattered cinders. I burned bridges, loose embers. And nothing is forever. You never stay together. Fuck forever. Fuck together. Fuck forever. Fuck together. You gotta stick it to you. Oh, I know it's true. I guess what they say is true. Birds of a feather, they'll fuck together. Oh, burnt bridges, scattered embers. Don't think you remember December. I don't think you wanna remember last December. Oh, nothing is forever. Never stay together. I'm gonna taste the heaven. You're hanging with Stephen. You're never gonna taste the heaven. You get to do it with Kevin. I don't want you wanna remember. Oh yeah, fuck forever. Fuck together. This is what they say. together. Yes, that's what they say, true about birds of feather. Oh, let you fuck together. Burn bridges, burn cinders, burn bridges, and lose embers. I just don't think you wanna remember in December. And stick it in, dude. You're so cruel. Break all rules. And stick it in, dude. I don't think you will want to remember any last thing. I still got burned ember. Yeah, started fire. Yeah, that's to December. Stick it in, dude. I know you're cruel. You don't follow rules. No, you're not fool. Don't think you want to remember burning ember.
This is a Family Electric Ghost minor correction. On the OPZ step components, there are 14 unique step components. I actually made a little bit of an error there, so I wanted to correct myself. So I'll actually go and say what the step components are now. So let's get into what they really are. So the step components that you have on an OPZ are pulse, pulse hold, multiply, velocity, ramp up, ramp down, random, glide, sweep, tonality, jump, parameter, spark, component spark, and trigger spark. So these are the things. These are the actual settings that you have on the OPZ. And looking at the manual, it goes into what the range is on these things. So you can see what the defaults are and what the ranges are when you look at the manual. But it's very, very interesting what you can do with this stuff. And it's just really cool what you can actually do. So it goes through all the different levels of what you can do on the pulse hold. So like the pulse has up to 9 different counts you can use and then a random. The pulse hold has, again, 9 counts and then a random. The multiply, you can go up to 8 different multipliers, and then on the 9th one, it's a broken chord, and then on the last one for 0, it's a quantize. Then on velocity, you have -4, -3, -2, -1, and then there's a default, and then it's +1. Default must be 0. +2, +3, there's mute, and then random, and then ramp up. So you can actually mute the velocity. Then ramp up, you can do 2 steps, 1 octave, 3 steps, 1 octave, 4 steps, 1 octave, 5 steps, 1 octave, 6 steps, 1 octave, 2 steps, 3 octaves, 3 steps, 3 octaves, 4 steps, 3 octaves, 5 steps, 3 octaves, and 6 steps, 3 octaves. And so it's the same thing for the ramp down, and then the random is the same concept. And then glide, you have glide 1 through 8, and then direct and random. And the sweep, you have a filter up, filter down, synth up, synth down, pan, filter up long, filter down long, synth up long, synth down long, pan long. And then tonality, you have ignore chord progression, you have a transpose, you have an offset, octave, offset fifth, offset third, chromatic up, chromatic down, quantize 1, 2, and 3. And you, for the jump, you can jump. So you can jump to the start, you can jump to 2-4, jump to 3-4, jump to 4-4, jump to random, align to a global track, skip a step, reverse, quantize, quantize. And then parameter sparks, you can set the range on the parameter sparks to be up to 8, and then a random, then a reset counter, component spark. Those are all the same. So all the spark, component spark, parameter spark, and trigger spark all have the same capabilities. to set up to 8 steps, then random, then reset counter. So that's just a little more information on the step components that we were talking about in this song. Thanks.